Let's talk about me not being a good person. Hey, this is Wednesday, May 24th, and we're going to get into my final BroviTalk is going to be advice and choicey bits, and this is third period, because I already posted first periods, and we're going to try and post some other ones as we go along. Alright, today is going to be an experience for me more than you guys. The last 3 days were easy for me to do. As tough as it looked like as I went through the one on Monday, those are easy because those are stories and they sort of just go through it. It's just a matter of me tapping into what happened. Today's not stories. Today is advice, which we'll get to here in a moment. And I was here until almost 11 o'clock last night trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. And I even wrote up myself a little outline of what I was going to try and go through and do with it to try and keep me on track. And we'll see how close I end up getting to that, but hopefully it helps me out. Just like Tyler's going to have a seat where I said don't form a line, and this is where he sort of figures that out. Good stuff. All right. Let's go with this. I didn't used to do this. The whole telling stories at the end of the year and then having a day where I gave advice, it didn't happen for the first several years of my teaching. I did what every teacher does, which is show you guys movies the last week of school. And you have to realize there's two reasons why teachers show movies the last week of school. One of them is because teachers have homework. And we are given this big pile of things that we have to do that has to be done by that last day, which is why we come in on Friday to have even more time to get all this stuff done. And it's much like you guys not wanting to do your homework, teachers don't want to do all this paperwork that we have to. If you don't do your homework, you get an F. If we don't do our homework, we don't come back next year as a teacher. And that kind of makes our family get really grumpy. So we have to do ours. So teachers show you movies because they can sit there and work while you're sitting there watching a movie. The other reason is, y'all are kind of chaotic and crazy this last week. And whatever we can do to prevent that chaotic craziness, and if it's having you watch a flickering screen while you sit there and drool, then that makes our lives that much easier. So that's why teachers do it. And that's why I did it for years. But I don't anymore. And it happened about 6 years into my teaching. I've been teaching for a while, and I was sitting in my chair over there, and it was after school, and it was in the fall, when there was a knock on my door. And I was like, yeah, come on in. And it was a past student. And I say past, I mean in high school. And she was like, hey, can I come in and talk? And I was like, sure, I guess so. I was like, what's up? She's like, I just saw your car out there, and I wanted to come in. Because I have on the wall, Mr. Brovicast stuff, I have a picture of my car, and she'd seen it and knew what it looked like. And I was like, yeah, come in. And she sat down, and I was like, everything okay? She's like, yeah, I just saw you, and I was going by, and I just wanted to talk. I was like, all right. And we just sat down and talked for like an hour and a half. Just caught up on life and how things were going, and teachers and stuff like that, and the choices she'd made and where she was and happy. And it was great. Unexpected, but fun talking to this kid. But that never happened to me before. I'd never had a kid just sit and talk to me like a human for an extended period of time. And I didn't do that when I was a kid. I didn't have a teacher that I would go back and talk to. I didn't have a teacher that I would visit when I was in high school. I didn't have a teacher I would talk to after class. I mean, I had a teacher I enjoyed, but not a teacher that I would choose to go back to. And just making sure you did get permission from the teacher before you came?
Yeah.
Just making sure. All right. And so because of that, it threw me off that I had this kid come back and talk. So I brought it up the next day in class. And it was during poetry, and I was talking to him, and I was like, hey, time out for a minute. I'm like, what? And I go, this really weird thing happened. I'm like, what? And I go, well, I was in my room after school, and a kid came by. And they go, yeah? And I go, yeah, it was,
Oh, snap!
Oh,
Don't mess up me,
no, don't, please get distracted. Say hello to the Kronk.
That's Charger Jack, I think.
Good job, DJ. Have a seat. You're still talking. And so I mentioned to the kids, and they're like, that is weird. I'm like, I know. They're like, what did she want? I was like, just to come in and talk, and that was it. And I was like, is that weird? And like, that's weird. And I thought so too. And the kid goes, can we do that? I'm like, what? Like, can we just come in and talk? I was like, I guess so. Is that something you'd want to do? They're like, I don't know, maybe. And I was like, I have no problem with it, but it just seems like I've never done that. And I didn't think much about it. Then it happened again. A while later, I had another high school kid come back. And then the next year, I had 8th graders that would come back. And they would just come in and talk. And then after that, it just became a thing where I would have past students come in and sit down and talk and catch up. And it was nice. But it changed the way I taught. Because the conversations I had with them is I asked them about life. Because that's just what I'm curious about. And I would say, what good teachers have you had? What bad teachers have you had? What are teachers doing right? What are teachers doing wrong? And how's life been going for you? How have your choices been going? And kids are frighteningly honest when they come back and talk to me, especially when they no longer have me as a teacher. They open up about a lot of different things. And through these conversations I had with them, I realized that my 7th graders aren't as young as I always thought you guys were. I know your age, and I know 12, 13, 14, but that's not the young I thought it was. Where I thought bad choices and evil and heartache and bad stuff was far, far away. And from talking to my past students, I realized it's not. And the more I talked to these kids, especially the more I talked to my 8th graders who came back, I realized that it's closer than I thought. For a lot of them, it was the idea between 7th and 8th grade. That summer that's coming up is where they first got exposed to the bad choices, where they first saw or had the opportunity to do drugs, or had the opportunity to go out and drink, was this summer because of kids inviting them to things. And for too many of them, it's in 7th grade. And I know I've had conversations with kids this year who have already been exposed to it, who have already had that temptation, who have already had those conversations. And so I realized it's not far away. It's not this thing that's way out in the future. And part of the drawback to how I teach, for me, is it involves me caring about you. Because I can't do what I do if I don't care about you, if I don't get invested. It's why I go to the band, choir, orchestra things. It's why I go to sporting events. It's because I care, because I like you. The drawback to that, and the drawback to liking you, is not wanting to see you get hurt, and not wanting to see bad things happen to you. Because when you like somebody, you don't want something bad to happen to them. And I had these 8th graders and high schoolers coming back talking about the bad things happening to them, and talking about the pain they were in. And I had 8th graders and high schoolers get pregnant. And it's happened here since I've taught, both 8th grade and in high school. And I've had them come back and talk about the fact that they're in drug rehab as a freshman, and they've got arrested for any number of poor choices. And I've had kids, as soon as they turn 16, drop out of school and change their whole life. And they come back and talk to me afterwards. And they're not happy. And they're not in good places. And it hurts when it's a kid I like and I see them in a bad place. So how that changed how I taught was I realized this week is my last time to influence you. This week is my last time to have any impact on you as a person. And I couldn't complain if I spent this last week having you watch movies. If that's how I chose for my last week, was for you to go out staring and drooling. If I truly cared, then I needed to do something. So this became my way of trying to do something. But the trick is, I have to earn your trust for this to have any impact. I have to be someone that you respect. I have to be someone that you give weight to my words. So this whole year has been leading up to this day. This whole year is me proving to you that I am someone that you should give respect to. It's why I opened up this past week. It's why I told you the stories about my arrests and my poor choices. It's because that's how I earn your trust, is by opening up my heart and showing you the fact that I've been down those dark paths. It's why I've done everything in class this year. It's my way of trying to earn your respect, of trying to have you give weight to what I'm going to say. And I say that because if you think about another teacher saying, hey, I want to spend the last week of school telling you stories about my life and then tell you advice about what I think you should do, for too many of your teachers, you would blow that off and you would give no weight to it. because you don't respect them as teachers. Because not every teacher has earned that respect. So that's what I tried to do, was to spend the year going up to this day where I get to pass on advice. And from talking to my past kids, it's allowed me a weird side effect of being able to see the future. Because for most of you, I see two paths in front of you. A path of good choices and a path of dark choices. And for different kids, there's different dark choices. For some of you, that dark choice is drinking. For some of you, it's drugs. For some of you, it's dropping out of school, not doing homework, running away from home. Any number of things that you know are wrong, that's the dark choice. But you also have the other choice, the good choice. And for each one of you, those two paths have a different width. For some of you, the dark path is really skinny, and the good path is really wide. And it'd be really hard for you not to follow that good path. But the bad path is still there. For others of you, that bad path is really, really wide, and you can barely see the good path. It's there, but it's hard to see. When I say I can see into the future, it's because I see these paths in front of you. Because I've talked to my past students, and I've seen them be in your positions, and I've seen them take those choices. And I don't want you to take those same choices. So I want to try and guide you as best I can. For some of you, this talk will have very little meaning that I do today, and it'll bounce off of you, which is fine. For you, it'll just be me talking, and it'll be words that don't have much weight, and I absolutely understand that. The thing is, there are a handful of you where this is the talk that makes the difference. And I didn't think it was, and that comes from kids coming back to talk to me, and a number of them have referenced this. Mr. Foley, who had to leave right before this class period, said the same thing because of what I'm getting ready to get into. And that's why I keep doing it, is because I don't know which ones of you this talk is the one that has that impact for. At one point, I thought I did, and I thought I could predict it. I thought I could look at a kid and say, I know your dark path. I know your light path. I know which way you're going to go. I know what tough choices you have. But I've taught long enough, I've realized I don't know that. Because I've had my kids in my advanced classes with A's drop out of high school. I've had my kids, who I thought had everything going for them, get pregnant when they get to high school. And I've also had those kids who were absolute failures in junior high and could not do anything, turn around and get straight A's and come back and invite me because they were one of the top students in their high school class. So I don't know which ones of you this is going to impact. And the thing is, you guys don't know which ones of you this is going to impact because you don't know who you are yet. That's part of what this next year or two is going to help you figure out, is help you figure out who you are. Sorry. I have 40 things I want to cover in enough time to get through 15 of them. And so I try to hit the ones I think are most important, but it's not the easiest to try and go through and do. With the past in front of you. Sorry. This is my brain having issues. Just give me a moment and I'll get there. Part of what bothers me is watching you guys not choose who you let shape your world, who you let shape your opinion of yourself. And you let anyone who talks to you influence how you feel about yourself. And it happens a lot with bullying. And I see it happen a lot with kids who lash out and are angry and mean to others. I have little quotey things up there that help guide me and keep me focused. When I was a kid, I got bullied because I had horrible acne, the acne that you see in commercials. And I got bullied, made fun of it, it was awful. And I remember being in a PE class one day, and there's a kid named Chad Moore who was making fun of me and calling me pizza face to a bunch of girls that were there. And it hurt. When you get made fun of, it hurts regardless of how confident you feel about it. And I remember I went home that day, and I was upset, and my mom was talking to me, and she was like, "What's wrong?" And I was explaining to her about the fact that a kid in class was making fun of me, and I didn't like it, and I felt awful. And she goes, "Is he a friend of yours?" And I said, "No, I don't even like the kid." And she said, "Why do you care?" I said, "What?" She goes, "Why do you care what this kid says about you if he's not a friend of yours?" And I said, "He's really popular. Like, all the people like him." And she goes, "Well, is he popular because you like him?" I said, "No, I hate him. I hope he burns." And she goes, "Well, if you don't like him, why do you care? As soon as you care what he says, you give him power. As soon as you care what he says about you, you're giving him respect. As soon as you care about his words, you're saying his opinion is stronger than yours. So why do you care?" And I said, "You just don't understand because you're a parent, and parents don't understand because parents are dumb." But it stuck with me. And it's one of those things that I didn't get it at the time. And I wish I could tell you that I was mature enough that when I heard it, it had an impact on me, but it didn't. But it did sit in the back of my head. And it wasn't until years later, when I was on a bus one day, that it hit me. And I was listening to these two girls talk in front of me that I thought I liked. And I was trying to find a way to get into their conversation. When I realized I didn't like these two people. They were bad people. They were making fun of this other kid and being horrible and nasty, ugly, awful people. And I cared about their opinion of me. But I didn't care who they were as people. And I realized that was dumb. And it sort of changed how I viewed my life. And I realized I was letting the wrong people influence me. And it's easy for me to say, but it's not easy to do. And it's one of those things I want for you, to be able to control your own world. Because it's too easy to let other people shape your view of yourself. It's too easy when other kids make fun of you to accept their words and give them power. So that's why I ask of you. When a kid makes fun of you, when a kid harasses you, when they give you a hard time, ask, why do you care? As soon as you care about their words, you're giving them power over you. You're giving them the influence to say their opinion of you is better than your opinion of you. And sometimes it might be right. If it's a close friend, and your close friend says you're making a dumb choice, then you might want to listen to that friend. But if it's not a close friend, why are you listening to them? And it's something to think about. Speaking of which, we'll go from there into bullying. Well, actually, no. Before I get to bullying, let's talk about me for a second with that. What I chose to do from there, and it wasn't easy, was I realized that we control our own view of life and how people see us. I'm not outgoing. I am shy and quiet by nature. I don't like attention on me. I don't like being the center of attention. But when I decided to become a teacher, I realized you can't be a teacher and be shy and quiet. You can't be a good teacher and be shy and quiet. And so I needed to put on an act. And a lot of what you see when I'm up here during class is an act. It's me performing. And I don't mean that I'm disingenuous. It's not that I'm trying to lie to you. But what it is I create what I want you to see. I create a happy, well, not the happy, I am happy. This outgoing person, but that's not who I am. But I am happy. And I do come from a happy place. The reason I tell you that is you can control who you want to be. Too many of you here are not who you want to be. That when you look deep down, you realize you'd like to be someone else. There's something about you want to change. Whether it is how you act, how you behave, how you believe, there's something you want to change. So change it. It honestly is as simple as that. There's only one person holding you back. You. If you want to be whatever that thing is you want to be, do it. If you want to be outgoing and friendly, do it. If you want to be a person who is happy, do it. Be happy. Be outgoing. What's stopping you from doing that? Your opinion of yourself? What do you think of you? Opinions of others? Are they the opinions that matter? Is it fear? Overcome that fear. The only thing stopping you is you. Which took me a long time to do. And I know it's easy for me to say. And it took me a long time to get to that point. But even though the whole outgoing shy thing, I really am happy. And I live a very happy life. And I don't have to hide that part. That comes through. And I think it comes through when you guys talk to me that I can't hide the fact that I'm happy. I get frustrated, mad, grumpy. But I'm a happy person. But not everyone is. And there are people around you who are very unhappy. And that's one of the things I learned when kids came back to talk to me, is that there's a lot of pain at our school. There's a lot of kids who come from unhappiness at our school that I didn't realize was there. We, as humans, naturally assume everyone else has the same life we do. If you come from a life that's happy, you assume everyone else is happy. If you come from a life of pain, you assume everyone else has that. I learned that the hard way when I was a kid. I come from pain and addiction, divorce. Twice my parents divorced. I don't know my real father. He left when I was 6. He just disappeared, didn't want to be a part of my life. And then my parents divorced when I was 16. I know addiction secondhand because my grandparents were both alcoholics, to the point where we couldn't be around them in the evening times because it got so bad. I couldn't go out to dinner with my grandpa because he couldn't be in public because he was so bad. And I assumed that's what every family was like because that was what I saw in my family. And that's how every human is. But here's the thing. Not every family is the same. Some of you come from very, very happy homes where you have 2 parents who are at home. And your 2 parents love you. And your 2 parents tell you that you can do wonderful things in this world. And they hug you. And you have dinner at a dinner table. And they support you. And they go on to tell you about the wonderful things you're going to do. And when you make poor choices, they yell at you. And that's what parents are supposed to do. That's called parenting. But here's the thing. Many of our kids don't have that. Too many of our kids don't have that. Kids in this room don't have that. And I know, because I've had the conversations. There are kids in your classes who only have 1 parent at home, who have 2 parents at home, but their parents at home don't do a good job because they don't tell them they love them. All they do is tell them you're a failure and you won't succeed and that you're not going to go anywhere in life. Abuse does not have to be physical. Abuse is mental. Abuse is when you're not nice to someone. And as much as you might be unhappy here at school, I have a lot of kids whose home life is worse, who they don't want to leave school because going home is worse than being here. I tell you that because you have to understand they're around you. They sit next to you. You want to know why people lash out in pain? You want to know why people are angry? You want to know why kids can be as mean as they are? Think about that. They don't have a happy home. They don't have that with them. If you do, yay. For you, this talk doesn't have the same meaning. What I ask of you is understanding and forgiveness. That top quote up there. People lash out when they're in pain. People lash out when they're angry and hurt. And we have kids who are carrying more pain than they should because their parents are not good parents. Their home life is not a good place. And they're 12 and 13 years old, and they can't carry all of that weight. They have to lash out. If you come from a place where you don't want to be, and you spend all day with no one but adults that yell at you, and adults that tell you you can't do something, and adults and people around you not expecting better, it's hard to be happy. And you carry a lot of pain. You lash out. You make fun of others. You attack others. But here's the thing. I have both bullies and the kids who get bullied talk to me. Every single time it happens, the bully is an unhappy kid. The bully is coming from a place where something bad is happening to them. That person that bullies you is in a worse place than you. I guarantee it. That they have more pain than you do. And they can't handle that pain. They can't carry that pain. They're not strong enough for all that pain. So they lash out. This makes your job even stronger. Where it says, a child needs our love the most when he deserves it the least. That's true of anybody. Humans need our love the most when they're least deserving it. Those people that attack you and lash out and are mean to you, they need your love the most. They need you to help carry that pain. Now, I don't mean go hug them. That's awkward and creepy. What I mean is forgive them. Forgiveness is a way of showing you care. Forgiveness is a way of showing love. It's why I run my room the way I do. I forgive you guys all the time. That quote guides me in a lot of what I do, because a lot of you make poor choices and irritate me at different times. It's okay. You're human. That's part of being human. And a lot of times, I have to remind myself, the kids who have the biggest issues, the kids who act out the most, have the most pain, and they are the ones who need you to care the most for them. So what I ask of you moving forward is, when it happens, be able to forgive and not be able to hate. And it's not easy to do. Trust me, adults can't do it. You'll see it with your teachers. Not every human can. It's a sign of strength to be able to do it. It's what I'm asking you to do, not today, tomorrow, someday. Have the strength to forgive. Have the strength that when you have those bad things happen, be able to say, it's okay, and I'm not going to hate you for it. It puts you in a better place. If you want to be able to find that happiness, that's one of the first things you have to be able to do. And I've learned that for a lot of kids, I am the only adult that they interact with in a positive way, which I didn't realize for a long time, that I had kids who both parents or a parent at home is not a good influence or a good role model. And they come to school, and because their parents are bad, they act out. And so, because they act out at school, then they make poor choices, whether it's not doing homework, or whether it's the fact they try to get in trouble, or they get detentions, that they have no positive interactions at school. And it's where I tap into that. And it's where I try to understand that I will forgive. And that's what I try to do with you guys. When you guys make poor choices, and you don't do homework or something like that, that's not me being mean to you. That's my way of saying, I expect better from you. And I have too many kids who don't have that. They don't have a parent who expects better from them. Because having an adult yell at you is good. Having an adult discipline you is good. Because that means they care. What becomes scary is when you don't have an adult telling you that you've done something wrong. When you don't have an adult saying, I expect better from you. And I have kids who are in that spot. I have kids who have no adult in their life saying, you can do better than this. I have kids who every adult says, I accept you as a failure. That's scary. You're 12 and 13 years old. You should not be to that point. So I make it a point to hold you responsible. It's why I have my slow kid area. It's why I make you stand. It's why I keep doing that stuff over and over and over again. I'm going to hold you responsible. And I've realized over the years that my room serves different purposes for different kids. When I first started teaching, I thought it was just to learn English, and that was my job. But in all honesty, that's a very small part of what I do. I have to do something, so English is what happens. But for some of you, it is. And for some of you, that's where my room comes in. And for some of you, my room is a place where you get to laugh at other kids because they make poor choices and you find me funny. And that's absolutely fine. But you have to realize, there are kids who don't use my classroom for that. There are some people who have 6 horrible classes where they hate every adult they go to. And my room is the only place where they get to smile all day. And I have kids who have that same thing and they go home and there's no happiness there. And my room is the only place where they don't get yelled at for one class period. And I understand that's where my job comes in. And for some of you, that was my job this year, was to figure out what role I played for you. For some of you, it was to push you, to make you step out of your shell, to make you become a person I thought you could be. For others of you, it was to give you that happy place to be, because you needed that one happy place. For others of you, you needed me to discipline you, and you needed me to step up and say, I still care, and I still expect more. Here's the thing. It doesn't end tomorrow. When I said I spent this year doing what I do to earn your trust, it goes both ways. My door doesn't close after tomorrow. My door remains open to you. If you still need me, I'm still here. What I mean by that, those of you who still need to stay in contact, and some of you will, I will be here. When I talk about the fact I have past kids coming back to talk to me, I don't know which ones of you it's going to be, at all. Whether it's 8th grade, whether it's high school, because some of you don't know, because you've not had those paths in front of you. Right now, for some of you, you only see one path, and you have no idea that other path is even there. And at some point, that path is going to pop up. Because if you don't know someone by this point who is drinking or doing drugs, you will by the end of 8th grade. It happens to every single kid at our school. You will know someone. And I hope right now all of you are looking at me like I'm crazy. And you go, this is not going to happen. But I'm telling you, by the time you leave 8th grade, you will know someone. And you'll be able to say, when I ask you at the end of 8th grade, and I'll say, do you know someone? And you'll say, yeah. By the time you finish your freshman year, it'll be someone you know personally. It'll not just be someone you know. It'll be someone you are connected to. It'll be someone that you've known for a while. And every time I have a kid come back, including all the way up to Mr. Foley, I always ask, was I wrong? Please tell me I was wrong. And they don't, because it's going to happen. The reason I tell you that is because those choices are coming soon. You need to be strong. Some of you are going to make the wrong choice because you're human, and it is tempting. And I told you, I don't think I was strong enough to make the right choice. Obviously, I got arrested more than once. I want you to be stronger than I was. But when you're not, and you make that poor choice, and you feel everybody is against you, and the world is falling apart, understand, I will still be here, and I will absolutely keep my door open for you. It doesn't have to be in person. I have a number of kids who email me and contact me that way, or through social media now, which makes it even easier. I respond to every email and every message that I get. It might take time, because being an adult, life is busy, and I have daughters that I love, and they're still talking to me because they're not teenagers yet. So because of that, I spend time with them. But I will respond, and I will listen. And if you don't need me yet, that's wonderful. If you never need me, that's even better. I hope to God that you get through the next 5 years, and this becomes a story that you shrug off and has no impact on you whatsoever. That would be a dream come true for me to be wasting this day. The thing is, I'm not. I just don't know for which ones of you it's going to be. So that's why I spent this past year running how I did things. So what I ask of you is a number of things I keep saying. Being able to forgive, but part of it is going into the next several years with your eyes open. And understanding the stuff around you. And thinking and questioning. And realizing who is in your friend group. Because your friends are going to change. Because you're not the only one with those two paths. Every one of your friends has those two paths. And you don't know what path they're going to choose. I mentioned the fact that my best friends from junior high and I went different paths. And it didn't happen until high school. That path did not open until then. Other people's paths are not your path. And you might have to make that hard choice. And I really wish I could tell you it's an easy choice to make. But it's not. When you get to these paths and you have these opportunities, it's not an easy thing. You are going to have to choose between a bad path and losing a friend. And it's going to happen to some of you. You're going to have to choose whether you go down that path with them or whether you abandon them. And it is tough to do when it is a friend you've had for a long time. And I wish I could tell you there was a right answer, but I can't. And I wish I could tell you to just say no, but I can't. Because that's not always the right choice, and it's not always the easy choice. So I simply tell you to have strength, to be able to get through it. Thank you guys for this year. Overall, I filmed you guys a lot, which I needed a class to be able to rely on. And don't get me wrong, you weren't perfect, but you were good. And that goes a long way. And it made my life a lot easier, which I really do appreciate. Because it's easy as a student to forget that teachers are human. And as a human, I have feelings and emotions. When you guys are disruptive during class, it hurts. And think about that, in not just my class, but in other classes. Because when you do stuff like that, it's your way of telling that particular teacher that what they're saying is not important. When you talk during a class, that's your way of telling that teacher that what they're saying is not important. And there's every chance there's some teachers, that's the message you want to give them. And you want them to understand that what they're saying is not important. But keep that in mind if there are teachers you don't feel that about. And for the most part, you guys did a wonderful job for me. And I hope you guys go on and do a wonderful job next year. And when I talk tomorrow, because I'm going to be talking at the whole Heroes ceremony, I'm going to be talking to everyone as a whole big group. I'll have a different message for all of you guys together. But not all my classes were as enjoyable as you guys. Take off. That's all I have.